Hi, Early.
Lovely.
Hi, Arjun there. I'm here.
I hear Ambassador.
Arjun there. Hi, do you see me?
How are you, Ambassador Ron?
I'm fine. And yourself?
Are you in the building, or are you able to come out at all?
In which building?
In your own embassy and your confined?
No, in my residence. This is my office in my residence.
Okay. So, Ambassador, should we start the program?
Yes, let's go.
All right. So, let me set the context of this program. Ambassador, as you know, FICCI Ladies Organization is women wing of FICCI. This is for Professor Daphna also. Let me introduce you to FICCI Ladies Organization. It's a women wing of FICCI, which is the largest chamber of commerce for women in the country. And we are present pan-India. We have 16 chapters, and today's 17th chapter, which is there in Odisha, that chairperson will also be joining me because we are launching that chapter on Saturday. We'll be, of course, doing e-launch, Ambassador. So this being such a powerful organization for women, and we're doing the work for business community, we're doing the work to make sure that the women are there in professional life, they collaborate, they integrate, they grow, and they do much better in whatever field they are doing. Our idea is to ensure that there is economic empowerment of these women, whether they are at grassroots level, they are coming up, they are startups, they are established businesswomen, or they are on any level, at any level which they are. So this is for your information, Professor Daphna, that we taken a delegation to Israel this year, which was strong 62 women that we taken there. And when we went to Israel, the women were really, impressed by the enterprise in your country. And it makes sense for us to learn from you about your technology, about your innovations, about the way you do things in your country, and which has made you so stand apart. Okay, given the entrepreneurship in our country and the hard work that our women have, and the kind of population we have, the kind of education we have, if there is any way we can collaborate, that will be our continuous effort. But looking at today's session we are doing on the startup industry, and how can we collaborate, not only looking at startup industry where you can guide us, further it, and also for any furtherance for the women in industry is what we are looking at. So let me formally introduce first Ambassador Ron Malka. Ambassador, I was going through your biodata, and they said that you were born in Israel in 1965. Let me say, Ambassador, that you don't look a day older than 30 years.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, Ambassador is very well educated, ladies. Ambassador, let me also take this moment to introduce you to all the 17 chapter chairs that I have today here with me. I have, I'll be introducing them once they come to ask question. Each one of them comes to ask the question from Professor Daphna. So, ladies, here I'm introducing Ambassador Ron Malka. He is, as I told you, that he was born in Israel. He graduated in economics and business administration from Israel, and then he's done MBA in finance and business, and he has done PhD in economics. Ambassador, I never knew that you're so much educated, and then we can definitely reach out to you for further guidance on anything, wherever we have any questions in finance and economics, and any place that we feel we are stuck up. So I think I'll request Ambassador to speak few words to set the context of this conversation further. Ambassador, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So first, to congratulate you for making this seminar. It's so important in these days, especially in these days, to exchange know-hows, best practices, ideas, because, every crisis brings its opportunities. And especially now, talking about startups and SMEs, we should see how we can harness all the creativity that we can and try to solve and to bring out some solutions for the challenges that we meet now, which are a little bit different from the challenges that we are used to. And not everybody knows, but people sometimes mistaken to think that the main engine of the economy are the big enterprises. The way I see it, the main engine of the economy are the MSMEs. These are the companies, the small companies, medium-sized companies that really take all the burdens of the economy. They are the main engine of any growth of any economy, and you should focus on them, understand their challenges, and see how we can support them, and somehow build a structure of incentives that will make them overcome the challenges. And as I said, harness the creativity and all the experience and the know-how that is there. And sometimes the will is there. You don't need to reinvent it, just to exchange thoughts, ideas, experience, especially with friends. And Israel is a close friend of India. And I'm so happy to see Professor Kariv here with us, bringing all her knowledge and experience. And she knows so much about so many things that are so relevant to nowadays and to the challenges that the MSMEs in India and in the world are now facing. So again, welcome, and thank you so much for this great initiative. And this is another step in our ties that are getting closer and closer. Thank you.
Ladies and all the people who are viewing this program today, let me introduce you to Professor Daphne Kariv. She is the chair of Department of Entrepreneurship and Innovation and of Novus, Center of Entrepreneurship at the School of Business Administration at the College of Management. Rishon Lazian, she is the former vice president of her college. Israel, Professor Kariv is affiliate professor at HEC, Montreal, Canada. Professor Kariv is the author of 5 academic books all around entrepreneurship published, and she has published numerous papers in entrepreneurship and academic journals. I think more than I talking about you, Professor Kariv, we will wait to hear from you about your experiences, about what you want to tell us. Let me tell you that the women who are here and the audience who is going to be there with you are the mix of startups, are the mix of people in industry, women in industry, and we would like to know from your experiences. And please, over to you, Professor Da.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's so exciting for me to see so many women here. Sorry, Ambassador, but I think that there is something so powerful to see women entrepreneurs gathered here, trying to do something together. I mean, all of us, we share the same interest, otherwise we will not be here. To hear more about startups, to hear more about the ways that we can direct ourselves in order to escape the effects, let's say the negative effects of the coronavirus. So this is something that I'm really thrilled. So thank you very much for being here. It is really so valuable and so exciting for me. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you, Orly. Thank you, all the people, the teams that have worked so hard in order to make this webinar happen. And this is something that I'm always, again, excited because when I'm speaking with the embassy, with Orly and her team, we always understand that we share the same vision. And the vision is, okay, we are in a crisis now. We encounter many things that we were not expecting. This is an uncertain situation now. We don't know when would be the next day? What does it mean to be normal again? But still, we all think that this is the time now to keep the wheels in motion. So we cannot now stop our activities in our startups. And we need to not only to work, but also to prepare ourselves for the next day. So today I have some, I would like to show you some of my insights and the directions of thinking and some suggestions about how we can make it actually. I mean, not just fantasizing about going out from the crisis to a new world, but how can we control it? Actually, there is a blessing that says, give me the power to control whatever is controllable, and give me also the power to understand what I cannot control, then just to give it away from me and not to be bothered by things that I cannot control. So we cannot control the cure about the cure or vaccine of the coronavirus disease itself, but we can control something about our businesses. So once again, thank you very much. I'm going to share with you my presentation.
Sure.
I cannot do that because I'm not, I'm the host. So I would need your help.
Yeah, please try.
Yeah, please.
Please try.
Yes. Ankurita,
okay,
are you
great.
there? Can you please?
Yeah, now I can. Thank you. Great. Thank you very much. So is it there? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's start. This is a quote that has been declared 2-3 weeks ago, and this is actually what we want to discuss here. So the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, it's the largest forum in that shares insights and gives some reports about the situation economically wise. They said 2-3 weeks ago that businesses that invest, and I added now, in strategic, operational, and financial resilience to emerging global risk will be better positioned to respond and recover. And this is something that I really advocate, and I want to discuss it further. So something about myself. So you see my books. I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm also really passionate about female entrepreneurship. As I have been introduced previously, so I'm quite engaged both academically but also in practice in entrepreneurship. So I have founded a Center for Entrepreneurship. In fact, my co-founder is here with you, Revital. She's there. And we have co-founded a Center of Entrepreneurship where we have an incubator and an accelerator inside the academia, but also we have founded another private business, which is called Futuring, which is the future of mentoring that we believe very much in this. So based on my experiences and my insights and my research, this is the agenda for today. I'll go very, very briefly about on the effects of the coronavirus on the economy, then get deeper into the impact of the coronavirus on the startups, and then go down into the directions, stressing the business, the entrepreneurs, and the ecosystem. And finally, I will wrap it up by some practices for the business that we can implement, as I said, here and now. It's very important for me to set here the goals of this webinar. This webinar is about you and for you. It's about gaining more confidence on what you do. So this is what I see, keeping the startup in motion, paving the platform for setting a competitive advantage, avoiding ceasing operation. This is very, very important. Those that just stop their activities now and would maybe dream about restarting the activities on the day after, we are not sure that this is a good option. Surviving, exploiting new opportunities, and this is something that I'm going to delve into and maybe make it more clearer and preparing for the day after. So let's start by an overview, and I would say one thing about the overview. Everything is panicked. So we see panic in financial markets, we see panic buying in households, we buy a lot, and then we have supply shortages. We see lots of unemployment. We don't know if they are temporary unemployment or permanent unemployment, and those that are temporarily unemployed, would they find their company as they just knew its flow and so forth? We don't know yet. We also see some very confused venture capitalists. Some of them are scouting very intensively to find the startups that are really directly working on finding the cure and vaccine. Some others are quite passive at the moment and just maintaining the portfolio that they already had. We also see something that I'm going to stress in a few minutes, some interesting, I would say, changes or dynamics that we still don't know exactly how they are going to pursue, but some sectors are irrelevant anymore, restaurants, movies, showbiz, and some sectors are very vital overnight. For example, so of course, medical devices and so forth, but also remote communication like we do now, education, virtual education, deliveries, and so forth. But we are not sure that those vital, sudden vital sectors, they have the right solid platform to maintain the sales and the growth that they are just experiencing now. And if we go deeper into the what's happening in female startups, so let's see generally female startups or women-led startups are usually, they are used to be part of, I would say, frustrated and crisis-related ecosystem. They always have the conflicts of work-life balance. They always encounter the men's gang, especially in terms of finance. Usually they're typified to be more based or connected to female-based niche and not to the men's niche in terms of the verticals of the startups. The entrepreneurial aspirations of female entrepreneurship are completely different than those of men. So we are usually accused to have lower aspirations, which I don't agree. We have different aspirations, that's it. And then we do lack women entrepreneurial models. So what I'm saying here, that it seems like we are driving now into the unknown, the dark, the uncertain situation. But as women entrepreneurs, I would like to discuss with you again very briefly, because I want to get to the suggestions. But I would like to discuss with you the bad news of the effects of the coronavirus on startups, but also the good news. So yeah, we have bad news. And if we blend them together with the bad news that we have already as women entrepreneurs, I mean, the challenges that we face on the daily routine, then yeah, it makes it really frustrating and really, I would say, even concerning, a bit terrifying, because at the moment we see that, generally speaking, not specifically for women entrepreneurial businesses, but we see lack of investments, we see liquidity difficulties, we see layoffs, we also see many sectors that are negatively affected by the coronavirus, especially services, but women's industries are located mainly, household and manufacturing and retail as well. We see that there are some troubles in closing deals. We see that many startups have to reduce budgets, and the instability in the business itself in terms of absence of employees is also very concerning and very disturbing. So these are the bad news, and we have to put them on the table. Just we have to know that they exist. And as I said before, as women entrepreneurs, we already have some other issues as well. Combining together, well, we need to, we have some challenges here to fight with. But we also have good news. And this is actually what I want to stress in this presentation and in this webinar. And this is not by chance that I just picked those pictures. So you see here Netflix and Zoom and Walt, which is for the deliveries, because we have some, I would say, some sectors are just facing something that is new for themselves, for the startups themselves, but also for the ecosystem as a whole. So, for example, in some sectors, as I said before, some startups are really growing and prospering, not only in the medical device, but also in education, gamification, home sports, and many others. Also, we figured out that the sources for support are also expanded, and also we have higher offerings. So, for example, some offices and bodies that are governmental based or world organization or the largest companies and the richest funds in the world, they are now very much willing to contribute to the ecosystem, not necessarily only to startups that are directly working on curing the disease or for the vaccine, but also for the others that may facilitate our well-being while we are affected by the coronavirus crisis. And as I said before, we can also see in some sector dramatic increase in sales. So these are good points. Another very interesting point is that the mood of the startups, at least of the founders, is still very positive and very optimistic. This is based on an Israeli sample. And I really recommend to do the same and to test and try to see measures of the mood among the Indian entrepreneurs as well. But this is something that is really reassuring and very encouraging. So this is actually what I'm saying. I'm saying that even though startups at the moment are negatively affected by the coronavirus, and especially startups that are female-led, I would also say that startups are fortunate to be the ones that are still in a status of a startup and not a big company while the coronavirus is here. And why is that? Because startups are much more agile and very much ready to pivot comparatively to the big companies. They don't have much to lose. A big company has a lot to lose. They have an entrepreneurial mindset, which is always sought after. Many big companies would even merge startups just to get more innovation, or more an entrepreneurial vibe. And they are born into crisis and frustration, as I said. So this is not something very new, and they are already equipped both with the mindsets and with the strategies of how to escape from those situations. I'm going to go further and to just to share with you some very, very interesting cases. Some of them I know very well, like this one, that maybe would enable us to see what we can do in times of crisis and how we can grab opportunities and do something else. Do something that would not only enable us to survive the situation, but maybe also to scale up. So this is one example. Sophie is very dear to me because Max, the founder, and his team have started their idea in Novus, in my Center of Entrepreneurship, 2-3 years ago. And actually what they have done originally is they have taken a container, a plastic container. So when you put a plastic container in humid places, it may turn air to water. This is not a patent. It is something that we know. What they have done, they have just added to this container a smart device that is an IoT, Internet of Things, and it has a kind of a camera, and it also has a machine learning. So it can just take pictures of the measure of the hand. So when people would put their hands in order to wash their hands, the right dose of soap and water will drop out. So it's not only keeping hygiene, but it's also keeping the environment and preserves it. And the idea was to put those containers in schools in India, and that actually that is what they have done. And millions of students, millions of pupils have just washed their hands, and it kept the hygiene. So the business model was based on donation and on associations that were striving to preserve the hygiene of kids in India. Nowadays, look what happened. They have been declared by the Forbes as one of the Israeli medtech companies that are fighting the coronavirus, because they have just grabbed the opportunity. They understood that prevention of the virus would be by washing the hands. So they have just enlarged and expanded the deliveries and the markets. And nowadays they are so busy with production and with sales, so they are very, very successful at the moment. So this is a very interesting idea of how we can, without doing anything specifically on the product or the service, how we can scale up due to the crisis and not despite it. Another thing that is really interesting is this grocery. So the grocery, well, everybody is at home. We need to be locked out. There are quarantines, so we cannot go as often as we used to go to groceries. So what the grocery has done, this is another picture, but what a grocery that I know very well has done, they have started a new collaboration. And the new collaboration is with a vegetable and fruit store nearby. So they actually merged them together only for the period of the crisis. They can, it's a win-win situation at the moment. They provide deliveries for free, and they also started new products like preparing meals and do it yourself, not only from the products of the grocery, but also from the fruit and vegetables. And of course, they also have transferred all the payment to digital payment, so it is much easier. Nowadays, they are very, very successful, and they have lots of business and lots of deals, not only with as a B2C, but also as a B2B. So it's very interesting. You see here another thing that I was really touched by. This is a toy shop, a local toy shop in the States. And they, again, experienced a lower of deals and businesses. So nobody came there, even though they understood that people would need more games and more toys because kids are at home, at least in some areas around the world. So they have just called the users, I mean the customers, they have called them by telephone and asked for their expectations and their needs. According to what they have done, they have gathered, they have just maybe added those points here, raised here. So one would be that they digitalize the shop for fast deliveries. Secondly, they have a direct connection with the customers. It's again digitalized, so any customer would write down, I need this, I need that, if you can do this and that. So they are much more in contact with the customers, and they know exactly what are the needs. Moreover, they have started by, I wouldn't say pivoting, but by adding other, I would say, products like that are very aligned to the new habits of the customers at the moment. So for example, some educational games that they were not keeping before the coronavirus happened. And then some outdoors games that are fitting for, I mean, they're outdoors, but fitting for balconies or for really small places where kids can play. And this would be, and this is very successful as well as new services like, which is very interesting, like virtual art craft session, not only for kids by Zoom, but also for the parents. So when the kids go to sleep at night, there is a Zoom session for parents that want to do some virtual art craft sessions as well. So you see here that we have different cases, and I would like to share with you the others as well, just to keep your customers loyal. And you know, that the most, I would say, emerging concern would be that our customers will fly away. We will not find them anymore. So just to keep them very close to you, here are also some interesting ideas. For example, this pizza restaurant, since again they don't have any businesses anymore because nobody comes to the pizza restaurant, so they have initiated a family quiz and a pizza night, where of course they deliver everything, but it has a kind of a gamification, so it's really attractive. You see this amazing lady She's a kindergarten teacher, and she actually decided to set her house into a kindergarten school, and she gives some, I would say, sessions with kids while they're at home. This is also very interesting. It's a virtual dancing, Zoom dancing initiation undertaking for kids as well. And actually, I would say that if you want to beat the crisis, then it's for you to think about creative and innovative ideas. And here are some ideas that I would like to share with you. But before I do that, I just want to make sure if you have any questions at the moment, so we can have a little break for questions. I can see Hitnar in the chat. Do we have?
Do we have any questions, lady? Questions? Carry on, Professor, please.
Okay, great. So based on those cases, I would like to, because we saw some cases, so I would like to wrap them out and see what does it mean? How can we be like those cases that just took advantage or grabbed the opportunities of the coronavirus crisis and did something that is much more beneficial and profitable for the businesses, rather than to stay, well, I say passively and wait for the good times to come back. And as I said before, I'm going to split it into 3 categories. So the first one would be the business. What can we do in terms of the business? One thing that is really, really important is to digitalize the business activities. You have seen from the toy shop and from the grocery shop, digitalizing the business activities is very, very important because it provides you a direct line with your customers and any other stakeholders as well. So they don't fly away. You can just keep them very close to, we say in Hebrew, close to your chest. So you make sure that you like hug them, embrace them, and they know, and they are also they have some gratitude for you, knowing that you are also loyal to them. So this is one thing. The other thing would be, this is the best time now to build strategic partnerships. And I want to emphasize it. Many startups, usually I would say mainly female-led startups, they would come to me and tell me in regular times, I mean, not in those crises at times, and they would tell me, I don't have the courage to go to this strategic partner or this strategic venture capital or this angel and so forth, because I'm not sure that I'm worth it. And I usually say, why not? I mean, why not? I mean, okay, you can compete. You compete with the others, but still you have your own strengths. And this is difficult to persuade women-led businesses to do so. Nowadays, it's the best time for that. Everybody is in this uncertainty. Many unreachable, I would say, partners, the ones that we perceive as unreachable in normal times, would be very much reachable nowadays. And this is the time to get to know them, to get in touch with them. Maybe they are also striving to have some connections with you. They didn't know about you. And this is the time to tell them, here I am, here are my achievements, here is my vision, here is what I want to do, and I would like to have you as my strategic partner. And this is very important, and this is the time. It's all about timing. This is the time. Let me show you something that is really exciting. This is a store, a shop for waving. So they have a machinery, which is kind of a basic machinery, and experienced personnel, of course. And they just they do the craft. So of course they don't have any business anymore, because people, when they are in crisis, so the last thing that they would think is to knit and make the waving. So they have figured out, they have decided to, again, it's not pivoting, but to think creatively. And they just published, I would say, a statement that knitting benefits the mental well-being. And equipped by this idea, they have started a new collaboration with governmental associations that are dedicated to mental related issues, people, families, and so forth. And together, by joining forces, they're actually having lots of sessions and lots of advising sessions and so forth, and also practical sessions in order to strengthen the mental well-being of many people that are now under pressures and under stress. So you see how it is beneficial to reach out for partners. So they were not thinking about governmental associations prior to the crisis because, you know, there are small shop and the big government bodies would not look at them and would not consider them, but now they have a lot of value. So it's very important. And then another thing that is very important is to take this time now when we are at home to make some maybe reorganization of our business. We never have time for that. We neglect so many processes. We always say, okay, when I will have time, I will do all the organizations, but we never do that. So this is a time to look what we have, how would we like to prioritize it, and actually act and do something about it. This is very important. I would like to go deeper into the opportunities because I think that this is the main thing nowadays. So in terms of identifying opportunities, we've just discussed a lot, Soapy, the grocery, and the other cases that I showed you. But we look not only on identification of opportunities, but also on two other types: exploitation and creation. So I will explain the differences. Identification would mean looking around, not doing anything that has to do with my services or my products, but just maybe opening myself to new niche, to new markets, to new customers. So this is identification. Exploitation would mean I see that there are opportunities for because there are different needs or different habits. So I'm going to pivot a bit. I'm going to add something to either my products and services, or even pivot a bit, change a bit the direction. Creation would mean it's starting from scratch, and I will show you some cases here. Because I see the need, there is nothing at the moment or not in my region, and I want to build something specifically to answer or respond to the challenges and the difficulties that are really emerging now. So in terms of exploitation, here is something very interesting. Shine Spirit is a new restaurant, new shop for spirits. So they started in a boom, but then the coronavirus came and they didn't have any businesses at all, but they did have some hand sanitation for the people, for the workers. So they have really pivoted and decided to turn off the proportions. So now most of the sales are for the hand sanitizers, and they have also a bit a small proportion for the spirits. And they are very successful. So this is exploitation. Of course, they will go back to the original idea when everything comes back to normal. But now they survive, okay? So they still have the vision, but they do something that is tactical in order to survive. Creation, you see this website, it's a marketplace, Upwork. It didn't exist before, and this is only for those that are unemployed now. or maybe temporarily unemployed, and they put them together with the big companies only for short-term tasks or projects. So again, it's creating something. This is not the vision. This is not something that I dreamed of, but it's a good opportunity for that. So this is for the business. I would like to go over to look at the entrepreneur. It's very important now to invest in ourselves as entrepreneurs. And I just split it into the entrepreneurial skills and the resilient mindset. So in terms of entrepreneurial skills, this is a very good time to take classes, to gain more knowledge, and even to get a mentor. Those startups that would tell me, Daphne, I don't have I cannot afford it to have a mentor. I say, okay, so barter. You have something and you can give back, but take a mentor. It's very important. Another thing is to dare and to train yourself. One of my team members in my incubator, he's working at the moment in a big company as a CMO, as a chief marketing officer. And his dream is to be a CTO in a startup. So what he has done now, he has taken upon himself in a new undertaking all the responsibility on the technological responsibility. So he's gaining more experience at the moment, and he's also having some sense if this is what he wants to do in the next future. So it's very important. I'd like to show you something about your creativity, or the just strengthening your entrepreneurial creativity skills. You see here a restaurant, a mom and pop restaurant. It's an Indian restaurant, but it is not located in India. Again, they don't have much businesses now. And even in terms of the deliveries of the food, the original food, they still cannot survive. So they are very creative, and they decided to make some the boxes for deliveries, but only vegetables and fruit boxes for people in need. So they gain also, of course, they contribute, and this is very important. And for themselves, it's very important to know that you do something good for people, but also they gain some reputation as a business and a restaurant that cares. And this is very important and would benefit them in the long term. Be generous. You see here many examples. I will not go over each one of them, but these are startups that decided just to share their services, platforms, products for free, for a limited amount of time, of course, or limited amount of products, but just to share and to provide medicine and medical devices and so forth for the ones in need. This is very important, to be generous. When you are generous, you will get back generosity. And it also has to do with a resilient mindset. The most important thing that I will suggest is just to list for yourself, what are your strengths? Each one of us has its own strengths. And I would say crises or frustrations or conflicts, they cannot diminish our strengths. So we need to know what our strengths are. And when everything comes back to normal, they will be much more or better represented. Maybe at the moment they are less represented because what we have around us. But these are our strengths. And this is very important for our mindset. We need to know that. We need to know that we are capable, that we are implementers, that we are visionary, or whatever you are. Also, it's very important nowadays to surround yourself with positive people. When you surround yourself with negative people, it affects your mindset. And this is not the time for that. You are not as strong as you were in regular times. So now you have to be surrounded and embraced by positive people. You also have to preserve your value and visions, even if you do some pivots. And rather than to sell your liquors and alcohol, you sell hand sanitizers. still you need to preserve your vision and not be distressed, not be frustrated about that, because you will gain it, you will do it. Now it's a time of survival. That's it. Get rid of distressing things. Just put them away. And something that I really believe, and I'm actually doing it, is expressing gratitude, appreciation, and thankfulness. I just call people that have affected me in my life, and I just tell them thank you. And you will see that it does something to yourself. It is like fueling yourself with something that is really beneficial for you. Of course, for them as well. It's very nice to get some gratitude from another person, but for yourself, it does something that is really substantial for your resilient mindset. Finally, I want to go to the ecosystem. So it's very, very important to stay in touch with your ecosystem. You need to keep the ecosystem vibrant and dynamic. So, for example, you do that now, participate in webinar and meetups and live conference. It's very important, not only for gaining more knowledge, but also you can see there are people that they share the same interests. So they could be your collaborators, partners, or even just friends that you can share your concerns together. So it's very important. It's very important to share with your knowledge and your experiences. Usually in the competitive environment, in normal times, usually we just keep our knowledge to ourselves. We don't want anyone else to copy it, and we are a bit concerned about that. But this is not the case now. The more you are generous, the more you share, the better it is for you, for the present, for the here and now, and also for the future. You have to be valuable. This is a very interesting case that I've seen in the internet. You can see it here. These are escalators, and rather than to use chemical in order to disinfect the escalators, there is an ultraviolet way of taking off the viruses and bacteria. And you see here two people that have just designed a light box with this ultraviolet light. It's for free, and it is something that is really valuable, very, very important, but also something that will benefit them, even though they took a lot of time in order to design it. They didn't ask for money, but still, of course, they will benefit from it when things will go back to normal. Other thing that in terms of the ecosystem would be to use the social media. This is something that I really, really suggest. It is very important for everybody around to see what you do, to see that you are not passively just waiting for good days, but you are active, you are dynamic, you are volunteering, you are giving things for free, you are networking with people. This is something that will magnetize people toward you when everything comes back to normal, even now. So it's very, very important. It is also important for you, because sometimes we know that we do things, we know that we are active, but then when we look at the Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and we see, wow, I mean, last month I've done that, and last week I've done that and that and that. Wow, I'm really active. I'm really contributing. So this is very important. And if you can also to start a community or be part of communities around your business, around the industry that you are working in, it's very important for sharing, for gaining more knowledge, for constructing your competitive advantage when, again, for the day after. So this is about the ecosystem. I would like to wrap up the session by some, I would say, generic practices that are really important nowadays, and it doesn't matter which industry you are or what is the specific characteristics of your startup, but this is something that anyone can use, not all of them together, and not necessarily, I mean, But if you take one or two or more, then I think it will show. So first of all, operate everything in a lean model. This is not the time for big expectations. You have to be very modest and to understand that this is a time of crisis. We have to go over it. That's it. It's not in our control, but it is in our control to be more lean and to be more modest. The second thing that is really important, and I already had some feedback from startups that we are working with, is to ask your employees to work in cross-functional roles. It's very interesting because, for example, if you have someone that is more engaged in marketing and the other one is more engaged in financial or operation, just tell them to get together, to think together, to plan together. It enriches them, it empowers them, and the synergy would be so valuable, not only for them, but also for the business itself. So it's really a win-win-win situation. Outsourcing is very important nowadays. Sometimes you will get much more expertise and specialization for those, as we said earlier, temporal unemployed people, or even the permanent unemployed people. They will be very willing to help you with their knowledge and with their expertise, and it won't be so costly. So you have to consider this as well. It's very, very important to make the whole remote work very friendly, because if it's too complicated, then people would not be able to proceed with it, to be engaged. You have to also to prepare yourself for the interrupted work. Interrupted, it means that everything is virtually operated and people would be absent and so forth. So just make the procedures so it goes well. Prioritize, as I said before, ensure liquidity. I see so many startups that are either very, very terrified, so they don't consume anything, which will be the impact will be in the future, because if you don't develop, then you will see it in the future. And the other that are too, I would say, generous, and they are now trying to, and they're spending everything because they are maybe optimistic. So no, you have to make sure that you have the right amount of money for this time. We don't know how much time it will take. Maybe consult with someone from the financial, with a financial expertise. Maybe someone that is not emotionally engaged with your business, or someone from the outside. Maybe they will gain, maybe you will gain more insights from those people, but it's very important. And finally, I would say cut the flow of your business to very small cuts. Small scale contracts, small scale projects. That it's very important because it's not too costly. It's not, you don't have to invest too much, and you also see the success every time. So this is something that also fuels you with a good feeling. And this is maybe, and with that I'm going to conclude. Consider very, very carefully the impact of closing or restricting your activity, because restarting everything when everything goes back to normal would be very, very difficult. So in case you need to do it, you do it. But if you can do something that is more creative, that is more innovative, that has to do with the unreachable, as I said, unreachable stakeholders, with networks, with anything that might help you just to keep the things in motion, you will gain from it. And this is my suggestion. Finally, I want to thank you. I want to thank the ones that are participating here. And as I said before, we offer 3 online sessions for startups, either 3 startups, 1 startup, or 3 sessions. It depends on you, of course, on the organizers. And we will be very, very happy. My partner, Digitalize, is here, and myself. We will be very, very happy to work with you and our experts to see how you can pass this hectic time in a good way, survive, and also maybe scale up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Karev. It was really a very insightful and very well given presentation. And let me tell you, Professor, that I always have believed in lean organization, and that has helped me. That is my mantra, that the organization should be lean and your profit should be kept high. Whatever work that you do is a quality work, and you don't have to really look for volumes of work, but you look for the work which gives you profitability. With this, I open the session to the people who present here, the ladies and gents who present here for questions. So my first question I'll put to, I can see Shruti Mittal here. Shruti Mittal, who is there on the screen with us, Professor, is the chairperson of FLO Bangalore chapter, and very dynamic lady, and she's heading that chapter. Shruti, over to you.
Thank you so much, Harjinder. Thank you so much, Professor. It's indeed been a very, very enlightening session by you. It's been put together really well. And it truly shows us that though the future is not looking the brightest, we can prepare for it and, be ready for it. This one question that I have for you is obviously liquidity, like you already said in your presentation, is going to be the biggest problem. It's going to be a cash crunch. So what is the best way you can prepare? Because we also realize that the market is not going to be buying also. Even if it opens up, people are going to resort to hoarding the money and not spending. So how does a startup or a SME prepare for a long-term cash crunch? And is the health of your balance sheet and your bank accounts going to determine your future?
Thank you very much. This is a very good question, and I really hear it over and over again, because this is the main concern. I mean, since the future is uncertain and we don't have a deadline, we don't know when everything would start, and we also have some predictions about the post-crisis effects. So we look at this in three different aspects. One would be something that has to do with the government. So it's very important to have here Oli and the team, and because they are in direct connection with the government. So governments would be, they are very dedicated to this. They are very engaged in that, and they are thinking about ways on how to promote and how to put the engine working. Because as the ambassador said, everybody knows that the engine, the economical engine is that would be startups and not the big companies. So they would have some programs and projects designed specifically for startups, and we will see what they will come with. So this is one thing. The other thing would be the private sector. And the private sector should put lots of energy. I wouldn't say money at the moment, because everybody has the same liquidity difficulties, but lots of concern and energies. For example, we are witnessing the growing trend of accelerators and incubators and open innovation platforms and so forth. This is a very good place to operate your startup in a lean way. So if you are together in the same time, again, when we go back to normal and we can gather, not stay only at home, then it would be a lean model where we get together in the same place. So we have all the platform is there. We get some connections from each other, and it turns to be very successful for startups. So the private sector would be the one to take responsibility and to see how to make it friendly and how to make it attractive for startups to get into those places together and to figure out how they can lower the costs in order to maximize the profits. And the third thing that I would say is the academia. The academia should change. The academia is very theoretical, and but this is not the time for theories. I mean, the ones that want to do some research and conduct research, okay, they will have their streams. But I mean, for us, the regular people, we want to gain some value from the academia. The academia should do two things. One would be to lower the tariff for its programs. So anyone that wants to get into the academia should do that. And the other thing would be to be much more practical, to put students in contact while they are studying with the ecosystem. So not to, to isolate, because usually students are in the academia, then they have a shock when they go back to, when they go to the workplace, because they didn't know about the workplace. They just know it in theory. But the academia could not do that anymore. They have to make sure that they put in connections, in a good connection, in a high quality connection with their theories and models and with the leading figures from the ecosystem, to put the students together. So when the students go to the workplace and to the work environment, they already have some connections. They already have the sources for finance, operation, and employment. So this is what I think.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Professor. That's very well thought out and answered. I'm sure these are going to help us through these times.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Next is Shweta Chopra. She is chairperson of Jaipur, FLO Jaipur. Shweta, please. Shweta, are you there?
Yes,
I can see you. Yeah,
Hi.
please.
Hi,
Yeah.
am I audible? Professor Daphna,
Yes.
good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so Professor, my question is that both Israel and India technological hub, they're coming up with a lot of innovation. How do you see from here the kind of synergies that the two countries can bring together in the upcoming times?
Thank you. It's an amazing question. Thank you very much for that. Well, we see lots of similarities. It's always intriguing to see what's the effect of the culture of the national, I would say, mindset on business. And we see lots of similarities between Israelis and Indian entrepreneurs. So in terms of proactivity, in terms of identification of opportunities, in terms of ideations of new ideas, in terms of being connected, networking, being enthused by seeing people and making connections. Many cultures around the world are not like this. European cultures, for example, they would look for other aspects in entrepreneurship. But we share this, I would say, curiosity for doing things better, improving things, and doing things in teams. So I would say that taking the core of our similarities and then adding the strengths of the Indian ecosystem and the strengths of the Israeli ecosystem, that I will just share with you what I think about that, and it could be very interesting for a conversation. I think that this is the most successful model that we can craft. For example, Israelis, they are known to be very, I would say, creative in terms of inventation. So they invent things. Sometimes things would be perceived as either undoable, unreachable, but this is not necessarily the case, because you can dream very high, and then it happens. You just generate the resources from here and there, and you can actually implement your dreams. So Israelis have this, I would say, innovative and inventional approach. Indian people, as far as I see, they're very hard workers, very dedicated, and it's a huge market. And I speak with my colleagues in India. I see that every area has its own expertise and specialization, and even culture and even language, which is a bit, we cannot understand it well. I mean, cognitivity, yes, but we cannot feel it because Israel is so tiny comparatively. So I think that working together would mean to work with this enthusiasm that both cultures share, and the hard working that both cultures share, but also with the, I would say, inventive flavor that the Israelis would put, and the big market, and the reach out possibilities that the Indian market has, and the great vibe that the Indian entrepreneurs have. I think that together it could be very, very profitable synergy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Next is Poonam Bafna. She is chairperson of Coimbatore, FLO Coimbatore. Poonam.
Good evening, Professor Daphna. It was quite an insightful presentation of yours. My question to you is, learning from this time of distress and beyond, what is it that the two countries can do together in improving the agriculture sector by improving the productivity and storage?
Thank you very much. Both countries, they are really, I would say, emerging countries in terms of agriculture. Israel is known by its watering devices. I don't know, when you were with the delegation, did you see the netafim? Yeah, irrigation. So because in Israel it's a small country, but it has lots of areas with desert, and still there is a need for agriculture. So there are lots of patents in terms of agriculture and watering and air and so forth. India has lots of achievements, and not only that, but also it has lots of, I would say, engagement into agriculture, air, sustainability, environment. So lots of infrastructure in India. So taken together, merging the infrastructure with some of the achievements that are already here in Israel would enable, and I know that the embassy is also working very hard to blend together the forces of Indian very leading bodies and very leading, I would say, associations and also figures in this area, with some entrepreneurial, not necessarily the agriculture, but entrepreneurial associations in Israel. So the vertical of agriculture, air and water, plus the vertical of entrepreneurship together, this would be the synergy that I would expect and I would suggest. And I know that maybe Oli can say something about that, Oli from the embassy, because I know that there is really an intensive work coming from the embassy together with Indian governmental association to make it work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, Professor, we know that there is a lot of work being done in collaboration of agriculture initiative between Israel and India. And for those who are interested to know what we're doing with Israel, we can ask the embassy to share it with us and send it across to you. So that can be done separately. Next professor is Arushi Mahajan. She is from FLO Punjab. It's a very vibrant state of India. And she's from Amritsar. Arushi.
Good evening, Professor. It's been a great enlightening session, and not taking too long, I'll shoot my question. So my question is, could COVID-19 be a defining moment in the manufacturing process where there's some advancement, there's more advancement and adoption of artificial intelligence and robotics? Because social distancing practices are required even in the factories, Could these be an alternative to long-term substitution of labor? And if it happens, would SMEs in India accept the change? What would be the impacts of the same in India, of SMEs in India?
Thank you very much. It's amazing. I mean, it's an amazing question, and I will tell you why. I've just been interviewed for one of the Israelis newspapers. I just put it. It's in Hebrew, unfortunately, so I can't share it with you. And one of the things that the interviewer asked me is about artificial intelligence and IoT and so forth, and the UX and UI. She actually, what I told her is that because nowadays all the communication, including education, including sessions, including conferences, everything, including shows, everything is by the internet, by the Zoom and the others, then many people would demand a high quality of voice, of anything else, of UX and UI. Not only that, so there is a demand for that. Not only that, many users and potential users as well, they are nowadays, because they are bored at home, they would be the early adopters. So people that usually were not the early adopters would be more, busy in the work. So they would just use the things that are already proven. Nowadays, they are at home, more time at home, and they want to experience things, and they want to see how things go. So you see that from the two different, I would say, sides, you get now a real demand, a real request to highlight the quality, both of the coming from the manufacturing side and also from the user side, which means that many people, I guess it will attract the unemployed ones, but not necessarily only them, but many people will be, I would say, driven or directed from the market forces to those technologies, to be part of the manufacturing workforce of those technologies, because there is a demand from both sides. Now, the second part of your question is quite a challenging one. I mean, how do we transform people, masses of people, from one profession or one, I would say, topic or a job to new jobs, to new expertise, to new specialization? I think that it should be done, I would say, top down. I mean, from the big associations, maybe the worldwide associations for education at the UN or the European Union or any other, big association. They will have to craft programs for the workforce, for seeing how we can do by joining forces, how we can direct, how we can maybe persuade people that are unemployed at the moment to track themselves into those manufacturing and technological based professions. This would be a challenge, and I think that this would need lots of thinking and lots of goodwill, because we don't have any benchmark here, because the whole world is in the same situation. It's not that we can say, okay, we will see what India is doing and we will do the same in Israel, because everybody is in the same situation. So this would be the challenge. I mean, the first part of your question, I think it's doable. I think there is a request. I think that people would find themselves, directed to this area. But I would prefer to see those people coming to those areas with enthusiasm, with with energies, and not just because they didn't have any other choice. So this is the optimistic, pessimistic parts thinking that I have about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor. There are many questions that viewers are asking us, and there are about 117 viewers who are watching this. So I'll quickly come to the next question from the panel. Nandita Bhaskar is from FLO Ludhiana, from the chapter of Ludhiana. Nandita, your question quickly, please. Thank you. Nandita, unmute yourself.
Yes, unmuted. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening, Professor Daphna. That's a lot of information here. Very briefly, I would ask that what, according to you, would be the two most compelling and high priority practices that SMEs have to begin implementing maybe now or instantly when they open after the COVID crisis gets over in order to first survive and then thrive?
Just to make sure, did you mean the ones that are just will be developed after the coronavirus, or the ones that are already here, existing, the current ones?
The current ones.
The current ones. Okay. So I would say that there are many practices. There is a storage of things that they can do. But I would say that the most important thing would be to work together with other people in order to brainstorm and to see what would be the most fitting for your startup. I don't like usually to have some, generic declarations. So, for example, a lean model is very important, but maybe for some startups, it will be damaging. For others, maybe partnering at the moment will be very important, but for others, maybe this is not the right timing. So I would just take all the points that we were just discussed and looking at each one of them and see, maybe just making a kind of an Excel and see what would be very beneficial for the here and now, and how can we absorb it and take from that the core of things that would be beneficial for the future. We would have to then to prioritize and think for ourselves. Do we put the emphasis on the here and now? For those that are in a survival status, they will need to look at the here and now. Otherwise, they will not exist anymore. For those that have something that they can still survive, they will have to look at the future. Now, for the future as well, you have to maybe have a kind of a plan, a flow, to see if you look at the future, which would be next year, next month, next year, in 5 years. I mean, you have to also to see what exactly would align with your vision for each stage of the development of your startup. So I would just make a matrix and see how we can work with it. But the most important thing is not to do it by your own with your employees and startup stakeholders only, but to do it with others that are not, as I said before, are not emotionally involved with your startup. Because sometimes when you are very, very involved, your decisions might be affected by this involvement. So you don't want to reduce anything. You don't want to avoid anything. But maybe sometimes you need to do that. Maybe sometimes you need to pivot. Maybe sometimes you need to put aside for a moment your vision. You will get back to it, but not now. So if you have someone from your ecosystem, someone that will be willing to work with you, to give you with his or her insights, and then you do the same, you share your insights with this person for his or her startup, then you will figure out that you have lots of value. So just to concluding it, I think that you need to have a large storage of many, many ideas, but you must customize them specifically to your startup.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Daphna. May I invite Jyoti Jain from FLO Calcutta. She's from Calcutta, Professor. She's chairperson there. Jyoti.
Good evening, Professor, and thank you for an enlightening session. My question to you is, human resource is the most important key for the growth of any organization. Now, how to retain and keep motivating the talent post-COVID-19 because of this financial crisis, which all organizations across all sectors are going to face, and all enterprises would be, in cutting of costs. So what view do you have? How to retain them?
I completely agree that this is the most important thing. I mean, many people would say, how do I secure my product, my finance? And I say, you have to secure your employees. You have to secure your teams. And I think that this is the time to keep them, as I said before, embraced and close to your chest, as I said. Just give them the sense that they are really important for you. It means putting them in decision-making processes. I mean, not everything has to do with the finance. Not everything has to do with the wages that they are receiving at the moment. If they feel that they are valuable, if they feel that they are part of your decision-making processes, if they are part, but a substantial part in the planning processes, if you discuss with them future plans and they feel that they will participate there. I mean, it's not future plans where they're excluded from those plans. They are there with you. You treat them like a family. You know how to treat your family, so you have to treat your employees like a family. If it's a big startup and you have lots of employees, delegate the same approach to your other managers and tell them to treat their employees at the same way. So you actually maintain those forces together with you. And it's very, very dangerous, I would say, nowadays, because many startups, they cannot afford to to maintain their workforces. So what they do is they just tell them, that temporarily they have to lay them off. But the big companies, they have also grabbed the opportunity, and they know that those people that are temporarily unemployed, and they are very good people that have lots of expertise and specialties. So they offer, the big companies, they offer nowadays those unemployed people to go to their, they just offer jobs. I know that Microsoft does that. I know that Amazon does that, which is very, of course, encouraging, because it means that unemployed people would have now some work opportunities. But startups would need to think about that, because in the balance of what's happening or what will happen when everything comes back to normal, startups would need to understand that some of their talents would be already engaged in the big companies. So it's also a dilemma, I must say. It's a dilemma, because if you're unemployed best person, but you cannot afford, just maintaining the person. So if he or she gets an offer from a big company, so it's a good opportunity for them. But you need to know that there is a trade-off here. So either you keep your talents with you, and you get rid, as I said before, sorry for the word, but for the term, but you get rid of those that are just there because you have never reorganized your startup, but not necessarily you need them. And this is a trade-off. So you keep a very lean model, very few people, but the best ones. Or you say, okay, I need hands. I need more people here. So I know that there will be a chance that I will never reach them back. But those that are still with you, just treat them in a way that they feel that you need them, that they feel empowered, that they feel that they have value, that they are part of your plans for the future. This is what I think.
There was a discussion in FICCI, and I would like to give one statement here. There are 40 million people who've lost jobs here. And for the companies who are our size, who is a small and medium enterprises, sometimes, and these kind of situation, though the situation is not welcome, but it gives us an opportunity to recruit the people who are out there, who are very highly qualified and who've just been laid off even by the big companies. So for startup, I see this as an opportunity also, that they may get this manpower and they may get these resources at a low cost. So I feel the startup should look with open eyes at these opportunities at this moment. With this, I would invite Anuradha from FLO Kanpur. She's chairperson of FLO Kanpur. Anuradha, your question, please.
Good evening. I think most of the important questions.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Please go on, Anuradha.
You can listen me?
Yes, we can. Please go on.
So I really like the thing she told, re-evaluate your business priorities and act. I think this is the right thing she proposed in her talk. But the thing is, in this situation of COVID-19, will it be possible for us to again re-evaluate and do another thing in our business? Will it be the right thing to do now or after it?
Thank you. I think that you should do everything now. I am really concerned about those startups that are ceasing any activities in order to restart everything after we go back to normal, because there are several concerns here. First, we don't know when we are going back to normal, and what does it mean to go back to normal? And as one of our panelists just asked me, and I completely agree, when we go back to normal, still businesses and customers, they will not have the money and the budgets to purchase our services and products. So going back to normal, we don't know what does it mean. We still don't know what does it entail, because everything is so uncertain. So this is one thing. The other thing, I'm always concerned about lagging behind, because there are startups, especially us women entrepreneurs. So there are startups maybe led by men that are operating, that are doing things, while we speak, and they are planning and they are just equipping themselves with the competitive advantage for the tomorrow. So if we just lay back and passively hope for the good, they will be much more advanced. So in the competition between us and them, if we do not do things now, we will lose. And as I said before, it's an exclusive sector to be a female entrepreneur. You all know that much more than myself. And it has lots of challenges, and it has lots of difficulties and many ways that we need to take in order to be part or to compete with the others. I mean, with the startups led by men. So we need to work now, and we need to, but we need to work in a smart way, which means to work with our ecosystem, to try now to find the best partners. Now it's the best time to find our partners. And I would again stress, it's very important to try to reach out those unreachable partners, because it's a momentum. We can do it now. So it's very important to do that. It's very important also to be generous, because when you are generous, then you open new markets. And when you start to sell things to another market that you were never think of, or originally this was not the market that you were targeting to, maybe for the day after, this would be a very good source. So yes, we need to do things now in a smart way, with the ecosystem, be part of those webinars. It's very, very important. And one of my suggestions is the participants that are watching us now, just ask for the names of the others that are also watching us and participating, and just generate a community together with you, with your organization. It's very, very important because it empowers you and enables you to work now and to pave the way for your competitive advantage.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I have Dipali from FLO Chennai. She's chairperson of Chennai chapter. Dipali.
Thank you, Harjinder-ji. Thank you, Harjinder-ji. Excellent talk, Professor. Thank you for deep gratitude for taking the time and bringing this. Your slideshow was very interesting. I have a quick question for you. Israel is known as the hub of innovation, and right now is the time for innovation. So to our FLO members and to people who are watching right now, is there something that you can offer as an incubation opportunity, or even via just think tank sort of opportunities where we can actually expose our members to some of the ideas and have some collaboration in that effect? Is that a possibility? Can we do something? Can we do something with the Israel Embassy together for members and open it up for, since there is a dire need to innovate in almost every sector right now?
Thank you very much for the idea and for the suggestion. Of course, I think it's the best time to join forces together and to innovate. And there are also some strategies to do that jointly. So it's simple. I mean, it's simple in terms of understanding the needs. Then you need a think tank, or you need something another strategy to think about innovative ideas and to ideate. But there are also strategies for ideation. And the idea is to be very attentive now, to look around, to see and to try to generate the needs. What are the needs now? Also try to categorize them. I mean, are there any needs for that are related to kids and to older people, or needs that are related to specific communities, or needs that are related to water or to hygiene? Different categories. And then you get a sense of what is needed now, and what is needed now that is related to the coronavirus effects. Then when you have the needs, then popping up with ideas is something that is quite natural, of course, for you, for us, entrepreneurial figures like us. And then the challenge would be, but it's a fantastic challenge, it's a positive challenge, to work together to generate resources and to see how we can actually turn those ideas that are based on the needs, that we have measured them, and how we can implement them into real ventures. And I have seen already here in Israel several startups that were starting from scratch. And actually your question is really aligned to the hottest thing in the research, which is creation of opportunities. And this is exactly creating opportunities. So when you have this crisis, which of course these are crazy times and we do not like them, but any type of crisis would be also an opportunity. And if you look, as you did, look at those crises as opportunities, and then you test and you feel the need. And you can also get I would say, a deeper feeling of different needs and different expectations, then it paves the way to implement it. So of course, I would be very happy to be part of such think tanks and such implementation teams. And of course, we can do it. And this is the right time to do it. As I said before, this is the right time to do it.
Thank you, Professor Daphna. We have many questions from audiences, which I'll read out to you. You tell me whether you can take it or Israeli embassy has to take it. Then we'll write directly to the embassy. My first question is from Vinay Chilakpati. He says that he would like to know a point of contact from where we can have defense offset requirements in Israel. So you think we should contact the embassy for this? Defense equipment contacts.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So Vinay, we will come back to you, and please write to us separately at Flow and we will send it to embassy. Second question, very interesting, Professor, is from one Divya Chaudhary. She says, what do you think will be future of Ayurveda? Will Israel build a strategic partnership for the same? And I would like to add another thing to this. Can innovation be added to the field of Ayurveda, Professor?
Do we have someone from the embassy here? Oh, not anymore.
I'm afraid, yeah, no one.
Okay.
Okay, so you can tell us and we can follow it up later also with you.
Yeah.
If you tell us.
Yeah. So I think your voice is a bit broken. Could you just I couldn't hear the second half of your
okay. So
question.
The question was Ayurveda. Can we add some innovation to Ayurveda? Can there be an angle given to Ayurveda? And two, how much is Ayurveda acceptable to Israel? Can we export Ayurveda as a concept to Israel? Is what somebody has asked.
Well, this is a very interesting question as well. And this has to do, of course, with policy. I don't know if you know, and when you were with the delegation in Israel, we have an innovation authority, which is really a very big one, and it encompasses many, I would say, different sectors and industries, and also many professions. And they are striving all the time to encourage innovation in all different types of industries and sectors, and trying to because innovation in each sector is a bit different from the other. I mean, there is no one track of innovation. You need to be very focused and very accurate when you innovate in different sectors. So I think that Israel would need to think again top down on what would be the new direction of innovation for each one of the sectors. Who would be the persons and the stakeholders that will be involved in each one of the sectors? I also expect, again, I'm not judgmental. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm sure that there will be lots of changes in terms of the I would say attractiveness of the different verticals. So, for example, if nowadays the agriculture and air and environment are quite emerging in Israel, maybe in the next future, because of the coronavirus and the effects, maybe cybersecurity would be more attractive, or maybe education would be more attractive. And then each one of those sectors would need different types of innovation and different types of expertise, machineries, platforms. All the ecosystems would be completely different. And this would also have impact on the collaborations, including with India, because in India we have different industries that are very aligned to each other. As I said, there are some core similarities in terms of culture, in terms of the enthusiasm to be entrepreneurs. Maybe this would switch as well. Maybe there will be some other partners from different countries as well that would like to join the collaborations and the partnerships. So this should be something that will be addressed by the governments and will be maybe crafted and developed by them, and then top down will be disseminated to the ground.
Thank you, Professor. I'll take this one last question from audience, and then we'll proceed towards vote of thanks and one question by Senior Vice President. So there's a question from Governing Board member Mina Jain to us. She says, for startups, when there is a drop in business and we don't want to lay off any employees, what is the way forward? You have addressed this, that the employees should be kept. So I think I pretty much that answer has been given. The second part is also, what is the future scope for architects given the COVID? What is the future prospects of architects? She's asking.
Well, we don't know what to predict. I mean, I think that this is one of the first times that everything is so blurred. We don't know. I mean, architects, I would think, I mean, general architects, or is there a specific?
She's a building architect. She's a designer. Yeah.
Actually, I'm very optimistic for the architects, because this is something that will be, I would say, the basic. I mean, you probably know the Maslow hierarchy. So in the Maslow hierarchy, the first thing would be to have a house, to have a place to have a home. It means that this is something that will be always very, very important. And actually, not only important, this would be the basic. So I would see maybe differences in the ways of innovating, differences in the partnerships, differences maybe even in the ways that people would afford themselves to buy houses, apartments, buildings, and so forth. So yeah, there might be some changes there. And also, when there is a circle of innovation, then it goes on and on. So we never know when it stops. Hopefully it doesn't stop, because architects are the ones that are, I would say, the ambassadors of innovation. We have some innovative ideas, and the architects would be the ones that are building those innovations. So I see lots of innovation there, lots of creativity, many changes, even in the, I think, in the real estate value and real estate affordability. But it will stand. I mean, I see some sectors that are in danger, but not the architects, as far as I see. But again, I'm not a predictor. It's a common sense.
Thank you, Professor. This really sounds music to us during the time of COVID. So, there are many questions, ladies and gentlemen, that each one of you have asked. You asked for one point of contact in Embassy of Israel. Please write to us at flow@ficci.com and we'll connect you. So with this, Professor, here is our Senior Vice President. She is there on the panel. I would invite her to talk. Let me introduce her. She is the President-elect. She'll be the President after I hand over the presidentship to her. And she would ask her question probably, and I invite her to do vote of thanks. Janvi.
Thank you, Harjinder. Good evening. Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, Professor. Been very interesting talking to you. I have been listening to the various sectors that we've discussed with all my teammates from FICCI FLO. I come from the industry of the travel and tourism. And, this is one of the worst hit in this pandemic. And India and Israeli had such a long relationship in tourism. At least 40,000 Israeli soldiers would come year on year to India after your military service. And Indians too have been traveling like never before to Israel. So this has been a huge impact for both our countries and for our industry. I was curious to know, how is this being tackled in your country? The travel and tourism sector, how are they going to cope in these times?
Yes, this is one of the most concerning sectors, because at the moment, because nowadays everything is on hold. So you see airports empty. I mean, it's amazing. And you see the Times Square empty because no tourists are there anymore. And you see the wall of Jerusalem and so forth. Many Israelis, as you say, see India as the best target when they complete their military service. It's a place where they can see the beauty and also where they can also gain some calmness and some happiness. And the welcoming culture of yours is so rewarding And after 3 years of military service, this is the best thing to do. Nowadays, all the tourists from Israel are back in Israel. And actually, it happens all around the world. Most of the countries just bring back specifically the tourists, the ones the young ones. Maybe there are some exceptions in terms of businesses, but business people and so forth. And one of my cases that I show, sometimes I couldn't, just include all of them, but one of them is a tourism a startup that is working on platforms for modifying a tourism experience to the traveler. And of course, they are very negatively affected now because nobody can travel. And then they are also very concerned about the future because they are not sure that people could afford it, in the day after. So what they have done, and the founder, Meir, is an Israeli person. He has just been interviewed in the social media. So he has started to, this is very interesting. He has started to collaborate with insurance companies in order to build a platform for the next crisis in the tourism area. And insurance companies, they are also striving for partnerships now. Okay. So he's keeping everything in motion, and they are also together recruiting engineers in order to build the technological platform. So it's interesting to see. He doesn't have any business now. He's really in a very bad situation, I would say, at the moment, but very optimistic, very creative. And by partnering with insurance companies and by maybe blending new technologies, like the technology of creating new platforms for travelers and so forth, he's just keeping the company in motion. Hopefully it will be beneficial when they go back. But actually, in order to survive, what they do now is they have transformed their business into deliveries. So they deliver things, not food, but things that are related to work, to our jobs. For example, in my case as well, I have many books in my office at the university, but I'm now at home. So I need someone to make someone reliable to make sure that they deliver it well, even if I have my computer there. So this is what they do in order to survive. This is not the best thing that they would like to do, but this is something that might give them some air in order to survive at the moment. And they are already starting to work on the future by partnering with insurance companies. So this is I would say the business approach. In terms of tourism, I'm very optimistic because, and I will tell you why. Because people they already tasted the experience of tourism. They already tasted what does it mean to go out of my country and to see another country with different landscape and different taste of the food and different languages and different culture. And everybody would long to do that. So nobody would say, okay, that's it. I've just done my tourism and that's it. No, everybody would think about new and innovative ways in order to reproduce the experience. So yes, people will travel. I would also predict that there will be a boom because when there will be a vaccination or a treatment, everybody will be so excited about go back to tourism that it will be a boom. And I think that the most important thing now is to build a solid platform to be able to respond this boom of travelers in the day after.
That's very, very encouraging. And thank you for that very optimistic note. Professor. And may I take the total privilege of forwarding the vote of thanks on behalf of my team at FICCI FLO. Our thanks goes out to Dr. Ron Malka, Ambassador Israel, and to Professor Daphna Kareev, who has given us such a fantastic and enlightening and insightful talk. And we are here to learn, and we do hope that you would come forward with FICCI FLO to talk on more and more topics together. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being there on this session. Thank you very much for being there. Bye. And thank you so much, Professor. Bye-bye.